Okay, great. Vito, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself first?
So, hi Fatemeh. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity
Thank
to
you for
to.
accepting.
Oh,
Thank you for
no, I
accepting the
mean
invitation.
that's such a nice project.
Thank you.
I've seen a few videos that you posted in the last weeks, and it's really a nice idea to explore to try to understand how people feel about their jobs, their lives, and so on.
Oh,
So
thank you
I don't
so
know. I'll
much.
try to add my little contribution. So my
It's
name
a
is
big
Vito.
contribution. One out of 100 is a very
Okay.
big one, yeah. The
Yeah,
1%.
I mean, I'm used to samples that are more or less that big, so so
Right.
yeah,
Your
it's
scale of
a
job is like, yeah, yeah,
it's
no,
a good
not
thing.
comparable, yes.
So yeah, my name is Vito. I'm a postdoc currently at the University of Exeter in the UK. Before that, it's my second postdoc. Before that, I was a postdoc in Paris at the
Okay.
observatory in Paris for 2 years. And before that, I did my PhD in Padova for 3 years, and I lived in Padova for all my university years.
Mhm.
And I originally come from the south of Italy.
Okay.
And so this will be more or less the description of my living path. As regards my job, I work on the discovery of exoplanets
All right.
through a technique that is called direct imaging, that is taking pictures of exoplanets using as cameras, the biggest
All right.
telescopes in the world.
All right.
So they are quite expensive pictures, let's say. And so this would be my very short summary about what I do.
Okay, nice, awesome. So, okay, let's dive into this and get this started, I guess. Okay, how did you become an astronomer slash astrophysicist? I don't know, like which one you relate better to?
It depends. It depends on the person because if I have
Agreed.
any suspicion that the person in front of me will not understand that astronomer and astrologer are two different things, I will say astrophysicist. Otherwise, I would say astronomer because I think
Yeah,
that
right,
it's a bit different from
right. Sure.
astrophysics, and so you can call me astronomer because
Okay,
I feel
awesome.
that no one will confuse me for an
Yeah,
astrologer.
right. Very true.
So how did I become an astronomer? I think it just happened. It was something that was always there. Since I was a kid, I had this passion since I was a kid, and I just did all the small steps that I needed to reach that goal with no major deviation from it.
Oh, wow.
Uh, so I don't know if maybe you're interested in my first contacts when I was a kid with astronomy,
Yeah,
something like
right.
that.
No, absolutely, yes.
Mm,
Because usually, I
uh,
mean, this is like one of the
mm,
major paths that people take. Like
mm,
either there's like a childhood memory or they're guided towards it during the university days.
mm.
So these are the two like branches that we have
Okay.
among people. But you're coming from the childhood memory,
Because yeah,
I
in my
believe,
case it
club, right?
yeah, in my case it was really a childhood thing because I was always interested in science in general. Since I was really little, I loved the experiment books, this kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
things,
Right.
or
Oh, wow.
discover
Right.
the Earth, discover the fossils, or this kind of
Right.
things. So I really loved everything related to science.
Right.
And at some point when I was yeah, maybe 5, 6, I don't know, I started to really get into astronomy.
Wow.
And it just stuck to me, even though I still was interested in all the other sciences, but then at some point it became much more important than the other ones.
Wow.
So maybe
At the
I
age
can,
five or six, like, did you have
yeah,
stargazing experiences, or
no,
like, did you have
no,
a telescope? Like, how
more,
did it
more or
happen?
less. So I think it happened just through books,
Okay,
atlases, these
right.
kind of
Oh,
things,
right.
in which
Okay,
you had nice illustrations of the sun, the planets,
right.
with a bit of information
True.
and so on. So this was my first contact,
Right.
and uh, my babysitter of the time recounts that once I asked her, I was 4 or 5, I don't know. I asked her what was the temperature in the core of the sun.
Oh my God. Poor babysitter. How did they
Uh,
react?
she I don't remember, but she told me that she just tried to invent to make up some number because she knew that I
Okay,
didn't
yeah,
know.
like whatever. Yeah. Was it like
Yeah.
something that was off, like, I mean, 2 degrees? Like or like 1 billion
I don't
degrees.
really
Yeah,
remember.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
don't really
It's some
remember.
okay, yeah, right.
And then I remember, and this thing, I do remember it. I remember that, in the cartoons and everything in the movies, you
Yeah.
always see that the sun is there during the day and the moon is during the night. You always
Right.
see that one goes and the other comes
Yeah,
and
right,
vice
true.
versa. And once I saw the moon in during the day,
Yeah.
and I was mind blown.
Oh, yeah, right. This is
So,
against my
I feel this
intuition
is,
from the cartoons.
I
Yeah.
would, I would say that this was my real observational experience.
Jesus
Then, yeah,
Christ.
during
You
primary
really
school.
had a very scientific mind, though, from the
Uh,
very beginning, I guess. Like, how
uh,
did it? Yeah, like the first contact was like at the age like 5 or 6, but then was it even earlier than that? Do you have any
yeah,
earlier memories of that?
yeah, no memories, but they tell me that I used to, have a look at books with the nice figures of suns and planets and other stuff, and maybe other
Okay, right.
sciences too, and just love the figures. And they asked ton of questions about
Oh my
these
God. Yeah,
things.
right. Okay.
And
So
so,
you're
yeah,
among like the destined club,
so
I
I mean, it's
suppose.
so,
Yeah, right. The person who was like very early on got familiar with astronomy, and you have like very vivid memories of what was your exposure at the beginning. Yes.
yeah. So then
Okay.
I didn't have a telescope till I was maybe 9. I think that I had a gift when I was 9 by an aunt of mine. But
That's
before that,
still
it
an
was
early
just,
age. Like not everyone has a telescope like
but
very
it
early
was
on
a
at
small
9.
one. It was
Yeah, it's
something more,
still,
some kind
yeah,
of
no,
toy.
right. I mean, some kids
Uh,
are lucky if they get binoculars.
mm. but my, but my father used to have binoculars just for his
Yeah.
job, and so we used it from time to time when there was a transit of Venus in
Oh,
2004,
well,
and there was
okay.
9. There was an eclipse that was
Right,
visible in Italy in 2005, and there was
right.
10. So these were the
Mm.
first real experiences with nice
Okay.
phenomena.
Okay. And you
Uh,
were still a child.
and I was,
Right.
yes, still a child. And then going forward in time, when I had when I had to decide what university to attend, I was induced to not to go to astronomy but to physics,
Uh-huh,
because they
okay.
told me that it's more general, it can give you more a larger ground to do whatever you
Right.
want afterwards, compared
True.
to astronomy that is much more specific.
Right.
And so I went for physics for the
Mhm.
bachelor, but I went to Padua because I knew that Padua was the best place in Italy for
Oh,
exoplanets. And
right,
so
true.
after in the master, I went back to astronomy, and
Okay.
and that's it. And then it was just a straight line.
Okay, so yeah, like no hops, no bumpy roads, yeah, nothing, but just like destined, yeah, like from the beginning, you wanted to become an astronomer and you knew about it. But let's talk about the physics part. So, physics, I suppose, here in Italy is like very much general subjects, right? It's like Newtonian mechanics, electromagnetism, etc. And then, so you followed all of these subjects and you were more like astronomy, astrophysics is still more my thing. So I want to do. So your master's was mainly on astrophysics or astronomy,
Yeah.
I believe. So like it was a straight choice that, yeah, like this is what I want to do. And all of this happened in Padua, right? Your bachelor, master, and PhD.
Yes, everything happened in Padua. Yeah.
Okay, so how was your experience? I mean, in academic
So
sense.
yeah, I can tell you that, of course there was some kind of shock, like for everyone, because when
Yeah, right,
you
true.
the passage between the high school and the
Right,
universities can be really shocking.
right,
Uh, and then, of course, in my case, it was also a move from a part of the country to the other, the first time
right,
living alone. So a
true.
lot of the things that pile up. And of course, like everyone, I struggled a bit. I had some
Mhm.
problems. I had some exams that I really struggled
Right, right,
to succeed in. And there were moments in which I thought that maybe it was not the best choice, and I should have done other stuff, or I didn't
right,
feel fit for the thing.
right.
But then in the end, when I was maybe 6 exams before the end, I told myself that if I could endure for a bit, for like 6 months more, 1 year more, then I could just change and go to astronomy, because at that point
Mm.
I saw that the path was that one, and that I
Right,
didn't want to go in other parts of physics.
right,
And so I knew that I had a lot of very, let's say, more boring exams that were
right.
ahead of me, but there was something in between that I needed to cross. And
Yeah, of course, yeah.
of course, they were
You
tough
have to
moments.
walk the bridge.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's something that
Right.
I guess that everyone experiences at university at some point.
Yeah, right. I mean, there are some subjects which, yeah, like they were quite, I don't know, annoying. Like I had this problem, I remember first time with statistical physics during my bachelor, but it's also because the professor who was teaching that, like he was not to like shun people because of their youth, but then he was very young. He didn't have that much teaching experience, and then he had ideal expectations from students as well. So yeah, it was not a really nice experience. But aside from that, I think like everything else went well. Yeah, but I was a physics major. I really loved it. I mean, if I could stay in physics, I feel like I would have stayed there. But yeah, I mean, it was not a matter of like, I mean, I don't know, like being able to stay there or like moving forward, but it was more a matter of whether I wanted to be my job. It's like when you're like having like an artistic habit, like let's say like a hobby somewhere, like somewhere, and you're like, okay, like this is like great if I'm just going back to it, but I don't want it to be my career. And I think astronomy is like something that plenty of people choose when they're in that space. They're like, okay, astronomy could be my job, astronomy, astrophysics, because it's also evolving a lot. Like every 3 to 5 years, you have a huge major change in this field, and you have to develop stuff, and then you have to adopt, you have to learn again. So you're always in the classroom, kind of. So you never grow. Like it's a field that is like giving and giving. While I think with pure physics, there is not that much of feeling. You have to be very brilliant, but a lot of it is just computations, I believe. So yeah, like I mean, plenty of people just don't look at it as a serious job. Like while with astronomy, I think it comes to us more naturally. Maybe because it's also more tangible compared to like the physics that is related to astronomy, like general relativity or quantum mechanics or stuff like that that we are involved with. I don't know.
Yeah, I have never thought it this way, but yeah, that's an interesting point of view. I I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But
Okay, so let's talk about like when you started your master in astronomy. You always wanted exoplanets, right? I believe like
uh,
from very early on you had decided like this is the thing. You didn't go for
uh,
AGNs or black holes or like
yeah,
something else.
maybe, I had this predilection for
Right.
planets, but I wasn't really sure. So I had the master was a moment in which I could explore all the beauty of all the different subjects. So I studied
Right.
galaxies and stars and yeah, AGNs and cosmology and so on.
Right.
So in that moment that I strengthened my predilection that was already there, but it was quite open because
Okay. Oh, okay, right.
yeah, I thought that if I fell in love with something else, I would have done something else. I was not
Right.
still
True.
100% straight on that.
Right.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, I was maybe lucky because I had really good professors too in exoplanets.
Right.
So it was a nice thing.
So how did you start with exoplanets then? Or was it that your master thesis was on something else and then you switched to exoplanets during your PhD?
So, so at least in Italy, so of course this is a question that depends a lot on the country you study in, I think. But for us, as you said before, the master is quite general. So you have
Right.
a broad overview in all the different disciplines of astronomy. Um, and then the decisive moment probably is your master thesis, in which
Right.
you contact a specific group,
Right.
you start a small project in what they are interested in. And then after that, if you're able to succeed and to enter a PhD, then most people just stay in the same broad topic, not
Right.
topic, but in the same, let's say, research area
Right.
as they did
True.
their master. And at that point, their path more or less
Right.
is defined, even though it's possible to change, but it's much
Right.
easier not to change at that point.
Right.
So it was for me, it was like that. I I had a thesis in something related. It was not really exoplanets. I mean, it was related to exoplanet, but not in the detection part as it is now. It was astrobiology. So it
All
was
right.
something in between astronomy and biology. It was really
Right.
a cool experiment. So in the end, I did a bit of a turn, a slight turn, but
Okay.
maybe it was a 10-degree turn. It was not a
Yeah, no,
180
yeah, no, of
degree
course, yeah,
turn.
no, right.
But yeah, it was. this way for me. And then the PhD was just something that is very similar to what I still do now. So it was a project about discovering new planets around a
Okay.
certain sample of stars,
All
and then
right.
trying to draw all the statistics out of it and to
Mm-hmm.
try to connect it to how these planets form.
All
And
right.
so after this project, then all the things that came after were more or less in the same path.
Mm. Do you have this moment
Mm,
of being blown away, like when you were doing research, that just kept you pursuing this as a job? Because, like
mm,
when you're in the academic phase, you're still a student. You're just
mm,
pursuing a
mm,
degree, and then you have to do something academic in order to either make a choice between academic research world or the industry. So, I mean, even if you're like securing your doctorate, like let's say like degree, you're still a PhD student.
mm,
You're
mm.
still a student. But then like afterward, you have to make this big decision that whether this is your job or not. And that is a huge decision, I believe. So I think most of us, we have a certain memory or a certain experience during our master's or PhD that convinces us to continue with this and then like become a postdoc fellow, etc. And then like move from one country to another, like start like going through all this stress and then uncertainty and then job
Mm.
insecurity, etc. There's something to always fall back on. So, did you have this type of moment as well, or was it something like an average experience? You just really enjoyed your job?
Yeah, I think that it was more an average experience. I
Mhm.
didn't have a decisive moment
All right.
because I always considered academia as my first choice
All right.
and everything else as the backup choice.
Okay,
And
right.
so I always thought to myself that unless something bad happens, I'm
Right.
not going to quit. And or unless
Right.
I'm kicked out, I'm not gonna quit. So yeah,
Right.
I mean, I never really considered the
Mhm.
alternative because I've always had this idea that I wanted to do something that I really love.
Right.
I didn't want to have a job that was there just for financial security and then have my
Right.
hobbies in my free time. I wanted that my job was also some kind of similar to a hobby in a sense, so something
Right.
about something that I love. And so I never
So that's a very big
considered.
word that,
Mm,
yeah, I want to do something that I love. When did you figure out that you
mm,
love this field?
mm. So let's say from a mm, let's say from a very broad point of view, I've always known it. But from a practical point of view, so even accounting for the real life and so on, I think it came probably at the end of the PhD.
Mhm.
Because yeah, because
And I think
my
that's a
PhD,
very stressful period because you're writing your thesis.
yeah, but my
Most people
PhD,
like really don't like that
no,
period.
but
They're like, okay, but it's too much stress. Yeah, right.
but for me, so it's a bit of a probably character thing because I do
Right.
not really feel a lot of anxiety. I'm
Oh,
able
okay.
to
You're
work
usually
under
relaxed.
stress, so it's not a big deal for me
Mhm.
usually.
Do
But
you do
it's more
meditation or no?
no,
Like it's
no, no,
just no,
no,
it's
no.
it's
It's
your
just
character. Okay.
the way I am. No,
Yeah.
no, there's
You're a relaxed
no,
person.
no
Yeah.
trick.
Okay, good.
No, but for me actually it was a bit tricky because I did my PhD during COVID. And so
Right.
my first half of the PhD was terrible due to
Right.
external factors.
Right.
So then let's say the final year was much better because I could come back to the office, I could talk to
Right.
people, I could do more interesting stuff. And so
Right.
there was really this stark comparison between more than 1 year that I spent in complete isolation doing side
Yeah.
projects compared to the last year in which yes, I had to also wrap up everything, write papers and write my thesis, but it
Right.
was much more fun compared to just staying at home.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
right.
it was not, I think, a general experience. If I did my PhD 2 years before or 2 years after, it would have been completely different, I guess.
Yeah, right. So what is so exciting about exoplanets?
I
And like,
think,
I mean, you're doing something specific. So you're doing exoplanet detection, which is also
uh,
discovery. So plenty of people say that it is the joy of discovery,
uh,
just to see that there's something new in your data. But then how do you define it? Like how is it for you? What is the most exciting thing about the research that you're doing?
uh, Yeah, as you say, the joy of discovery, it's always a
Yeah.
thing. When you find a new
Yeah.
planet, you say, okay, I'm the first that is looking at this new world. I mean, it's
Right.
new for us, but it's always been there.
Right.
Uh,
I think
so
partly it is because you also don't have a blueprint. Like you don't know what you're looking at. It's not a solved problem.
yeah. You don't know you don't know what to
Yeah, you
expect,
don't know what
exactly.
you're looking at. Yeah, like
Yeah.
and you're the first person who should call it something. And then yeah, I think like that is very challenging, but also very satisfying, right?
Yeah, so there is this trail discovery, and there is also, all the questions that come after it.
Oh,
Because
right.
after you find the planet, but sometimes you did not expect the planet to have those properties.
Oh, of
For
course,
instance,
yes.
maybe, it's closer to its stars, it's in a position in which you
Right.
do not expect it to form,
Right.
or maybe this kind of stars usually doesn't have planets. So there are
Yeah.
several things you can ask yourself questions. If there is something weird going on, can be nice
Yeah.
to ask yourself, oh, why is it that we should study it more thoroughly?
Yeah,
Uh,
right. Like we
you always
usually say
have,
that, yeah, like astronomy is all about questions, right? And then like
yeah,
when you're like answering one question, then there are like 10 questions following. So it never ends. Yeah, like it's just like you start with like one question and then you go ahead with like 100 more that is opened up by this one question. So, okay.
yeah. And then, of course, every time that you add another, another small, let's say, piece of the puzzle, then you have a better understanding of what to expect, let's say for future missions. And then you
Right,
can use your knowledge as a prior knowledge for your future
right,
things. So you
right,
see that you're part of this process, and maybe you can
right,
figure out maybe we can do in 10 years something new with this new instrument. So
right,
it's always a loop that goes on, and it's really exciting to try to guess a little more about what is going on.
right. Intellectually speaking, you never get old in this field.
Yeah.
I think you're always young. There's something to learn that no one knows about. You can never claim to be old. Like, I don't know, even if we're professors, we're always having that student side to us. And that I think is like something that academics should always have, right? Like, you should always be in a learning and growth mindset.
Yeah, and something talking about that, I've seen several people in my career, I don't want to name them, but I've seen several people in my career that are 65 to 70 years
Right,
old, and they are still enthusiastic as if they were
right,
kids. They're still keen of learning new stuff, to ask
right,
themselves questions. So from time to time, I think, oh, I wish, well, first of all, like, I wish I'm alive at 70 years old, but second, I wish that I have this kind of joy and experience, and joy and
right.
curiosity. Because
True, right,
you really see that for them it was never a job that was stressing. I mean, it was stressing, but as a normally stressing, not
right.
stressing as if it was, a job that they were forced to do.
No, of course.
Mm,
Yes. No, I don't know if you agree about this. Like, science and generally research is never about answering big questions or accolades or rewards or something like that. The actual reward is the aha moments. Like, when you
mm,
have this small moments of happiness and joy and elation, when you understand something
mhm.
and you discover something. I think those are the big moments about science, and everyone is after that, like these small happy moments that just come together. And
Yeah,
then, like on average, like you just look at it and you're like, okay, this is a very happy life because most of it, like I was just, it's not about also discovering only external stuff. I think we integrate very well with it because we do some type of self-discovery as well. Like the
hmm
way that
yeah,
you're seeing yourself, that how you're fitting in the puzzle, that how much we can understand the world around us, I think that's very rewarding because we're part of the process. So yeah, like it's like discovering something out there, but it's also discovering ourselves, that who we are through pursuing this type of field. I
yeah.
don't know if you agree with this or
I
not, like
do,
how
I
your,
do.
yeah, how your
Yeah,
experiences.
I do. I would not be able to add anything to what you said, but
I think it and this type of field
I
really
emotionally
contributed.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah, right. I think like it has contributed a lot to our character building and how
hmm
we live. So it's not only a job, it's something that is very much like integrated within our lives. And I think this is why plenty of people cope with the weird lifestyle that we have, which is like a lot of
hmm
like traveling, like always like floating somewhere and you never know like where to call home. But at the same time, you belong somewhere that is not a physical space. is somewhere in your head that you always go
Yeah,
back to. And that
yeah,
is like your actual home, right? I
yeah.
think. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you agree with
agree.
this.
I agree. I agree. And when you develop at some point you develop networks that are not just work networks, but just,
Right,
knowing people that you can
right.
call friends sometimes that are just spread all over the world, and you don't think about borders anymore. You just think, okay, if I go once to Canada, oh, there is that person that I want to greet because I have
Right.
met her at a conference and so on. So,
No, right.
you have this kind of things that is really cool. You don't
It's a
even,
borderless field, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
exactly the way that we are looking at the night sky, that we are looking at, it doesn't have any borders. It doesn't belong, like it doesn't have any, like, I don't know, politically, it's not separated. Like you don't have geopolitics when you're looking
Yeah.
at the skies. Like it belongs to all of us at the same time. So I think this is why we're thinking borderless as well. Like we are not that much like politically oriented. We don't think like, oh, this
Hmm.
person is coming from this nationality or they look like this because for us, that doesn't really matter. Like it's a very collaborative type of field.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is that how do you feel about being an astronomer on daily basis? Like not on a day that you're like kind of down, like down in the dumps, and then like you think like, oh, my proposal didn't go through, or I don't know, like this job that I was hoping for like didn't come through, it didn't happen for me, or I don't know, like you're having like
Hmm.
another day that you have achieved something big, for example, like your paper has been accepted, and then this is like something that you didn't think like would go through because the idea was like quite niche, but you think like you have contributed a lot. On an average day, how do you feel about it?
Uh, I mean, it's not an easy question. It's
No,
not
it's a
easy
very
to.
difficult one, actually.
It's
And it's in
it's
the middle, like people struggle so much. But then, yeah, like, I mean, if it facilitates the process, like you can also go with some keywords, like a set of vocabulary.
yeah. I don't know. To me, the best part is that there are always some questions that you want to answer.
So it's
Every day,
curiosity.
and also, problem solving in general.
Right,
Sometimes you just want to find a way to solve a problem. That can be
right,
also maybe a computational problem, writing a small
right.
program to
True.
solve something. So, this idea of having always some kind of intellectual challenge
Right,
to. So this is a thing that happens, I think, every day in
right,
our jobs, and it's something that is really satisfying. So maybe, I don't know, it can be a defining thing because we always
right,
struggle with how to best solve a problem.
right. So it's
Uh,
curiosity. You feel curious, you feel challenged, intellectually challenged. And
yeah,
yeah,
and then of course, this is if I want to be really general, then of course it depends a lot on what I'm doing in that moment, which kind of
right.
problem. But yeah, talking about my daily routine, yeah, this would be a description. That if you want to say about your life in general, your lifestyle,
Yeah.
and where do you live and so on, it's a completely different question.
Which is
Yes.
what, yeah, like that is also very interesting to know about because I mean, it's like part of the job, right? I mean, the
Mm,
lifestyle. So how do you feel
mm.
about that?
Yeah, I mean, about that, there is what you mentioned before, that is, the part that you don't have any kind of security about what
Right,
you're doing. You don't have any kind of long-term stability,
right,
and you are in a certain place, but it's a place that you probably will never call home because you will go
right,
in a few years. And so, yeah, there is always this thing which is behind, but most of the time it's just something that is in the background that they try to keep in the background. It's
right,
something that I don't want to think about a lot on a daily basis. But
right,
when you're about to end a new contract or to look for a new
right,
job, you have this feeling that everything is so fragile,
right,
and that you need to really put a lot of effort to try to float, not to sink in a sense.
right,
Yeah, but again, this is something that maybe 80% of the time does not affect your work, but it does a lot when you're about to end the
right.
position.
No, true, right. So it's a feeling of uncertainty, I
Oh,
guess, which is like a
yeah.
dominant type of feeling
Mm,
for all of us, I believe.
mm,
But Yeah, okay, so how about because you have also moved a lot in the previous years. I mean, still in Europe, but you have moved a lot. So you have moved from Italy to
Mm.
France and then went to UK. So there was always a life to put behind you. Now you're
Yeah.
like
Mm.
continuously like losing friends, or let's say like you're putting the memories back, and then the neighborhood you're living in is no longer there. And then all of these like short-term contracts, like they offer something new, but they're also taking away
Mm.
something from you. So how was your experience with
Mm.
all of this?
Yeah, so of course this is something really tough, and I
Right,
guess that a lot of people will not accept this compromise
right,
because it's something that, I understand most people do not want to just cut their ties, or to put a lot of distance between them and their family, them and their
right,
friends, and so them and their partner and so on.
right,
And so for me, I'm something in between because I do feel this problem in a sense, but on the other hand, I also feel that I'm still young enough in a sense
right,
that if there is a certain part of my life in which I can travel and discover a bit the world, this is the moment to do it. Because
right,
I want, in the long term, I want to find a place to call home and to just settle in a place.
right,
But I think that maybe now, for at least a couple, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years more, I
right,
can just have this privilege to work a bit around and to go around the
right,
world and to, in a sense, to enjoy the good things, to discover new places, new people, new ways of thinking, new ways of living, and so on.
right,
So it's something that for the moment, uh, um, I can accept all the negative parts of it, even though it can be extremely tough, especially in relationships. It can be really awful.
right.
But it's something that I would not do in 10 years, for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Okay. Yeah,
So
we'll see
yeah.
about that. No, I'm joking. But how was your experience as someone who is living short-term somewhere? Um, so I mean, you're somewhere in between a tourist and someone who's actually
Mm.
living somewhere, right? So you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
completely integrating, you know that you have to move out, but then, this type of lifestyle that
Mm.
you're just there for, I don't know, a few
Mm.
years, like, and then very
Mm.
short term, like, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels really strange in a sense because I can give you my experience in
It's
France
like you're
because
always like transitioning,
mm,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
there's like nothing under your feet.
yeah.
Kind of like, yeah, right? I
I
don't
mean,
know. Like it's
I
like
can,
wave surfing, kind of.
yeah, I mean, I can give you my idea about my experience in France because it's over. So it
Right,
was 2 years. So yeah, when I moved there, different country, a
right,
language that I couldn't speak, and a lot of
right,
small things, new people, a new place, new way of living, working, and so on. And then
right.
there was Paris, with
Mhm.
all its mess and its beauty. Uh, so yeah, I felt a bit like a tourist.
Right.
I felt more local than my friends that came to visit me or than
Oh,
random
okay.
tourists.
Yeah, right. Of
But
course.
but
Yeah,
uh,
right.
but of course, I felt like a foreigner that was just
Okay.
temporary there compared to my friends.
Right.
So it was a weird experience in between, but I feel that I tried to get the most of it. To use most of my time or my free time to just go around and discover the city and the country and
Right.
to say, okay, I'm gonna stay here not for long, so I don't want to regret it. I want to experience it to explore the country as much as I can.
Right.
Uh, but on the other hand, when I was about to go, I was completely overwhelmed by nostalgia.
Mm.
This bitter feeling of this leaving of a place
Yeah, right.
that I loved. That's strange because having an expired date to something that you're leaving and knowing it,
Right.
it's so strange.
It's like
So
you're living, but then you know the death of the product, like
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
the death date. Yeah,
yeah.
which is a very weird feeling. I think we don't have that for anything else. But food, like the
For food,
expiry
yeah.
date of the food, like like for how
Mm.
long we can use this.
Yeah,
But yeah, like when it comes to life, like it's a very different experience, you know, like yeah, like you have a limited experience at a certain place and it's gonna expire exactly on that date.
So yeah, that's a
It's
weird
very
feeling.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. It's a
yeah.
very weird feeling. And then it's always bittersweet, I guess, because you're leaving, but then like you're always like looking forward to what is coming next because there are new adventures. So you could not like maybe like stay in the same place as well. Like I'm having this problem, unfortunately, like I cannot stay for a very long time in a certain place. And I feel like it's like very much fitting for this type of career that you cannot like
Hmm.
stay like for a very long while in the same place.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I remember after I got my bachelor and master in the same university, then I was like, okay, enough. Like it's been like 6 years. Like I can't stay here. Even if they give me a PhD position, like I'm not gonna get it because
Hmm.
I'm just so sick of this place. Like I have to go somewhere
Hmm.
else. So yeah. I think I don't know. It's just yeah, like it's just always like transitioning between this feeling of settling down somewhere and then like going somewhere new and then reviewing like how your life was impacted by all of these experiences. So I mean, generally speaking, what is your takeaway from living in different places? Because it has a huge impact
Yeah,
on our lives, I guess. Like it makes us deviate a lot from who we were before that experience.
yeah. I mean,
I
again,
mean, you're
it's
just physically changing spaces, I think, if you think about it. But then in reality, I think it changes something within us.
yeah, yeah. I do think it because it forces you to challenge a lot of your assumptions, beliefs,
Right,
and things that you thought that were true and maybe they were not true.
right,
Uh, so I I think that in a sense, you know, generally speaking, it's always a good idea to have the possibility to live a bit abroad,
right,
to know new people, new ways of living, and so on. So I do think I do agree with you that it changed me a bit. I don't know exactly how, but I know that I'm a quite different person, and I would be different if I stayed just in Padova for another 5 years after
right.
staying for 9 years.
True. No,
Uh,
but you said something that was very interesting. Yes, stereotype breaking.
hmm,
When you're forced to live with some people that you were told they look like this or they act like this
hmm,
or they behave like this, and you go and live among them, then you figure out that, oh, it was very different from what I
yeah,
thought.
yeah. I mean, and this is something that you realize a lot when because if you just live in a community for all your life, you
Right,
hear a lot of things about other communities
right,
that most of the time are just wrong or they are exaggerations of small
right,
things. And if you don't have a real experience of it, you can't really
right.
say. You just, by inertia, you just assume that what you're told is true.
Right. It's one of the
And
privileges of this job, I guess,
yeah,
that you can have this opportunity to understand that, oh, people could
mm,
come in very different varieties in the same communities that you have a
mm,
lot of stereotypes. Especially like French stereotypes, I guess, are very strong.
yeah, yeah, indeed. I didn't want to say it, no, not to, not to make fun of my French friends, but yeah,
Yeah.
there are a lot of stereotypes about French people that are just stupid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, true. And you wouldn't know it unless you work with people or live among
Mm,
them or just have the opportunity to mingle with them. Yeah, right. Okay, so my last question for you is that how do you see yourself in the
mm,
future in this field? But this question is not about where you want to be or like how you're planning to be in
mhm,
the future. Like how do you in your head, how do you see yourself in the future in this very moment?
mm.
Like what is your mental
Sure.
vision?
Okay, so uh, I mean, as you might have guessed, if I have the opportunity, I will try to stay in the field as much as possible. So i- let's say if I had to just to close my eyes and to see myself in 10 years, I would see myself in a permanent job in some
Right.
place that is a nice place in which I can do my research and so on. But then, I don't know if the future will be good for with me and give me this opportunity. So, if I could, I would just keep on doing what I'm doing and try keep on applying to new jobs every couple of years to,
Right.
to climb the ladder and to get near to a good position. And then ideally, I mean, if I could choose a place, if I also had the freedom, I would love to come back to Italy
All
because
right.
I do feel a certain kind of responsibility
All
towards
right.
my country in a sense.
Mm.
The idea of, after getting the education, the skills, and everything that I have to give something back
Um,
to the new generations. But of course, this has to have ties to reality too. So it depends on the kind of opportunities that will be there in a few years. Um, so I don't know.
so
But
you see your home in Italy,
uh,
your future home, like in your brain, like this is the place
uh,
that you're gonna be.
I mean, in my dreams, yes, but then in reality,
Uh-huh.
if there is a situation, I'm completely puzzled about the idea of having the possibility to stay in the field, but let's
Right.
say in Germany, for instance, or in
Right.
the US or somewhere else, in the
Right.
UK, or coming back to Italy, but renouncing my job and doing something else. So I'm completely
Yeah.
puzzled about, and frightened about this possibility. But
Yeah.
for us, most of the time, you come to a point in which you don't even think about it. You just think, month after month to your
Right.
tasks and so on, because otherwise, it gets too overwhelming to think about
Right.
all the things in the future and all the uncertainty that you have. So it's a job in which you have to cope with uncertainty all the time.
Right.
Um, the thing that probably can be positive for us to tell to young people that are listening to us is that I think that in any case, if at some point you want to quit a job, or if you don't find any opportunities because maybe you tried a lot of applications and all of them are not successful and so on, I think that we have a lot of preparation to do any kind of job in let's say in the data science, or kind of things that require mathematical, physical preparation and so on. I think that we can do a lot of different things if we are forced to.
Right. True. I mean, this is like one of the important things that I think sometimes we miss out on. Like usually people say that, oh, if I'm not doing astronomy, I feel like part of my life is lost. I think no, astronomers are very competent and clever people. Like wherever they go, they will have a successful career and they will have a good life because they have learned the hard way to how to create that for themselves, like under the worst circumstances. So yeah, no, thank you for this. This is a great message. Okay, so I think we talked about a lot of topics, but if you think there is something that we've missed, or if you have a closing comment.
I don't know, maybe my closing comment would be that, this kind of life is tough. And I
Right.
completely understand why you told me that uh, all the people that you're talking to have a lot of energy and a lot of passion for this work, because if you had
Right.
no passion, you would not do a
Oh
job
yeah,
that
you would
forces
never
you
do
to
this.
to move it and doesn't give you a good contract, a
Right,
permanent contract and so on. So
right,
you need a lot of passion to do this, and you
right,
need to enjoy the idea of research in general. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if you have this passion, if you are able to balance all the negative aspects of this life, it can be something that is really rewarding.
Mm.
But yeah,
Nice.
and you always know that you can have a backup plan, I think, because I mean it's quite easy to
Right.
switch to something else, I think.
No, right. This is a great message. No, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, thank you, Fatima. I really enjoyed it too.